Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Finance and Neighborhood Committee. Today is March 13th, 2019. Glad to have you all here today. So we have a number of items on our agenda. First, I want to start by making a clarification on the record from something that came out of last Finance and Neighborhoods Committee meeting on February 27th. We heard a report from University of Washington School, the researchers that were helping us with healthy food and a food bank network. Our David Jones from our auditor's office was here. And in that study, I know that you all have this memorized. It was presented and listed on our agenda. And on page 88 of that report, there was an estimate of the number of people who were experiencing food insecurity but made more money than would qualify for SNAP. And the number that we had was 10,442, and the number on page 88 should read 13,420. And that number didn't change. It was, we were identifying how many people were meeting the 300% or the 400% threshold as far as poverty levels. So again, if you are reading the report, page 88, the number for those who qualify or make too much to qualify for SNAP should say 13,420. So we have 4 items on our budget today, or on our agenda today: 2 budget ordinances and 1 budget resolution that corrects or amends some small errors in coding from the 2019 adopted budget and updating our 2019-2024 adopted CIP. So we are going to have one of our very favorite Council Central staff members here to go through this and look at changes that we made in our Q4 supplemental budget. Then we are going to end by having a briefing and possible vote on the Hildt-Licata Ordinance, which pertains to Pike Place Market, and it's an agreement between the vendors. It'll be a 10-year agreement on what is going to be allowed and who's going to be allowed in the Pike Place Market PDA in the new section that is actually west of Western. Thank you very much for coming, Councilmember Gonzalez. I appreciate it. So before we get into this, we have 1 person signed up for public comment. So I'm going to ask Alex Zimmerman. You're welcome to come up, and you'll have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Hi, my consul. Yeah, my name is Alex Zimmerman, and I want to speak about agenda number 2, about Seattle budget 2020, about omission and error. I think this as budget 2020 is totally error. And I explained to you a couple points what is make me absolutely sick. Not only me, probably another couple 100,000 people. Number 1, we need give every homeless what is we have, probably 12,000, room what is cost approximately 10,000 per year. Yeah, for everybody, a room for 10,000. So we have this money. We spend this right now money for homeless, approximately $200 million, but nothing changed. Same homeless, 12,000 exist. It's a big error. Number 2, what is I cannot understand why we don't stop in Amazon. When we stop in Amazon, for example, so prices for everything will be go down. Prices go down, more rich people will be. 50% people right now totally poor. We don't talking about food bank right now. We're talking about people who dying because it's poor. 50% people in Seattle right now. They all move out. So Seattle right now only for Amazonian aristocrat. It's number 2. And number 3, I don't understand why we spend $1 billion salary for us government employee, but it's my investigation totally. 30% can be cut now. 2 years ago, we hired 1,200 people. Why? It's crook don't doing nothing all day. I see this. They sit in computer all day, don't doing nothing. So we can keep this $1 billion in our pockets. We can doing everything. And I don't understand why you spend $150 million for support not-profit organization. Why we support not-profit organization? Why? 170 not-profit organization for $100 million? So stand up, Seattle. We need clean the Dory chamber. It's all criminal right now, all of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for enlightening us. I am going to proceed with Council Bill 119478, and thank you so much, Allison, for organizing us and also for reading in this next ordinance.
Absolutely. Item number 1, Council Bill 119-478, an ordinance amending Ordinance 125724, which adopted the 2019 budget, including the 2019 to 2024 capital improvement program.
Very good. Thank you, and welcome to the table. Would you like to start introductions down there?
Sure. I'm Katie Tassery from the City Budget Office.
Thanks, Katie.
Caleb Wagonar, City Budget Office.
Thank you.
And Lisa K. Central Staff.
Very good to see you all. Thanks for being here.
I'm sorry, Lisa, are we going to do 1 and 2 and 3? Should I read all 3?
You can read all 3.
Okay. Item number 2, Resolution 31869, a resolution revising Resolution 31849, which endorsed the budget for the City of Seattle for 2020, as well as item number 3, Council Bill 119479, an ordinance amending Ordinance 125724, which adopted the 2019 budget.
Very good. Thank you. All right, Katie or Lisa, are you going to start? Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
please. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. This ordinance, the Council Bill 119478, would primarily reconcile the departments and the CBO's financial systems as CBO launches the new Questica system.
Maybe you could slow down a second and just make sure we're not bolting acronyms. So if you could,
You want me to use actual English,
I
not
think
acronyms?
that would be a really good
I
idea.
think that's reasonable. Okay, so the CBO would be the City Budget Office. So this would be reconciling the budgets that the departments have with the City Budget Office's financial system. And City Budget Office is launching a new software system called Questica. And so this is an opportunity for us to make sure everything aligns.
Good. Thank you.
The ordinance will also increase appropriations for the 2019 budget by $2,073,000. This is consistent with the council's actions. These are technical corrections. So most of that is the $2 million that corrects the council's green sheet adoption of the Lake City Community Center project. There was a $2 million state grant that was acknowledged in the green sheet that council adopted when the budget was being prepared, and that just didn't make it into the actual legislation that it got adopted. So the council had authorized the appropriation. It just didn't make it into the paperwork.
Okay.
So this is a technical correction. So $2 million of this is that technical correction.
That's great, and we just want to make sure that since I'm sure Councilmember Juarez is listening, is that her $2 million for the Lake City Community Center is there, and that it will be used, and is it that capital money?
It is capital money, and Katie may be able to.
Yeah, it's a capital project and consistent with Council's green sheet 108A1. It just adds the appropriation to the project so that the Parks Department can spend it as soon as they get that grant.
Okay. Great.
The balance of the appropriation increase, which is about $73,000, is the net of 2 other changes. One is a technical accounting correction. You may have heard the phrase double appropriation. That's when it's an accounting exercise where money is appropriated to the general fund and then appropriated again out to the appropriate department.
Correct.
So that was one issue for the Arts and Culture Fund. So that was $75,000 of the correcting that double appropriation. And then there was a $2,000 decrease from the Parks REIT and Park District financial swap. That was, and again, Katie may be able to speak to that a little bit more, but it's really, that was a very complicated series of swaps that were done. And in the executive's proposed budget, and this basically
Great.
cleans up that paperwork.
All right, so there's no additional monies coming in from any other source. This is an internal auditing or accounting restoration, so that what we have now is now correcting the 2019 to 2024 CIP appropriations, our capital project appropriation, and also within the budget control levels to make sure that it's all cleaned up.
That's correct. Yeah. It's amending Attachment A so that primarily it was designed to make sure that the code for the budget control level is consistent with the code that we have in our financial system.
Okay.
So that we can track all of the activity that departments are expending.
Great. And did you have anything else you wanted to add? Nope. Either of you? Any of you? Okay,
I just have a general question.
please.
It seems like this is continuing to happen. And last time the City Budget Office Director, Ben Noble, was here, he assured us it wouldn't continue to happen. So I'm a little concerned as to why this continues to be an issue.
Part of the problem historically that we're hoping this new financial or budgeting system that Lisa mentioned is that we have two different systems. And so things like coding, there can be a mismatch, especially when towards the end of budget season, things are moving fast and furious. So having one system, we're hoping will reconcile things so that there isn't even a possibility of getting two different codes. And
So
that system will be used by council too.
So I thought we were effectively just using one system now. We still have two systems?
We will be using it starting in the 2020 budget.
So you're beginning the conversion, correct? And it's not like flip a switch, it's something that takes some time to move over. So you're continuing to do this. I would just also acknowledge the fact that we had 3 items that we had identified as contrasted to. My recollection is in the past we've had dozens sometimes of things we were correcting. So the fact that we were down to 3 struck me as being not yet perfect, but a move in the right direction.
Yeah, we are trying.
I think it would be helpful if we were able to receive an update from our city budget office in terms of the progress made with the transition. Again, I continue to be concerned that we keep hearing that it's not going to happen anymore, and then it does. So yes, the volume of these incidents are significantly less than the last time we were here having this discussion. And I just want to make sure that the system is actually, and the migration is healthy, because this is, we have had experiences in the past where there have been what appeared to be technical corrections, but later on turned out to be much more substantive than that, that had real fiscal impacts to the city's budget. And so I think it would be helpful just to have a quick touch base to see how it's going.
Good request. Anything else with this that you want to speak to?
No, thanks.
Okay, well then I will move adoption of Council Bill 119478.
Second.
Those in favor say aye. Aye. None opposed. So that will move forward and pass out of committee into, we'll take it up on Monday in front of full council.
Okay.
So next we have a resolution.
Yes, this is Resolution 31869, and this does basically the same thing that the ordinance did, but since it's for the endorsed budget, it's a resolution, not an ordinance. So this would substitute new attachment A that has a revised 2020 appropriations to align with the correct budget summary level. So it's going to make 2 technical changes along the same lines as what we just discussed. One of them is the double budgeting correction, and the second is a $175,000 reduction in the fix-it-first budget summary level. Again, that was part of the funding swap and truing up those numbers.
So this is different than the first 3 so that we just talked about. So you've got the general fund to the art and culture fund. This one is different from the 75,000 in the first.
So you're looking at my staff report there, and at the top of the page there,
Yes.
the table 1, the
Yes,
far right-hand column are the
Right, so
2020
this is for
numbers.
2020, it's $50,000.
Yes.
So it's the same finance general, but one's for 2019, one's for 2020.
Exactly.
Okay. And then with your 175,000 fix it first, that is different than these 3.
It's the same, so you'll see the $2,000 funding swap that was trued up for 2019, and the amount to true that up in 2020 was 175,000 reduction.
And so how does Parks handle that? I mean, $175,000 reductions strikes me as much more significant than the 2,000. So
Well,
what are they going to do about this?
Again, this is just the swap, so the funding was taken out of REIT and drawn then from the Parks District financial plan.
So they still have the money, it's just a different source.
Yes, they're not losing any revenue or any funding.
All right, so attachment 1 to the memo shows how attachment A to the proposed resolution should be modified.
And this is really, these were a number of very minor changes, and in most cases, renaming the budget summary levels to be consistent with what we're using now.
Great. That's correct. All right, anything else?
Not from me, ma'am.
Any concerns from our budget office? So you have any further questions? Okay, I will move, I guess we just have to move adoption of Resolution 31869.
Second?
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed? So that passes. Once again, that'll go. And I understand this next one's slightly more complicated because you've got some amendments. Is that correct?
Yes, and they are amendments that are not, again, significantly substantive in nature. They were just things that we weren't able to clean up before we introduced the legislation. And Caleb is your point person on here, but I'll give you a brief overview
Okay.
on these. This ordinance is basically going to be reconciling the adopted budget with the fourth quarter supplemental for 2018 that you adopted, just to make sure that the new information in the fourth quarter supplemental makes it into the 2019 budget appropriately. As you mentioned, there are two technical amendments, and neither of them diverge from council's intent. I will give you both of these now.
Is
Are
that,
these different than what's in
Amendment
Register?
1 made it into the packet, but Amendment 2 came up.
2 did not. Okay.
But they are
Thank you.
related, as you'll see, so.
and do I have, is this the same as, okay, but we've got the underlying packet here.
So amendment number 1 is going to substitute attachment A. Attachment A was basically a summary of the project allocation changes that were made by the fourth quarter supplemental and then incorporated into the 2019-2020 budget. So we found 5 technical corrections to make to city light project allocations. Just again, very small number changes to true up the numbers.
Okay.
And then the more significant one was that there was when the council transmitted the CIP project for customer requested tenant improvement programs in FAS, the mayor had requested $3 million, and when central staff inquired further as to what that project list was, we found that the list wasn't quite that robust, and so the council chose to reduce that money to $2 million. That figure hadn't been reflected yet in the documents that were transmitted here, so the amendment that you see there is going to just make sure that we have the $2 million figure, not the $3.5
So this is
million.
amendment number 1?
Yes, amendment, yes.
Okay, and so,
So it's making the 5 city light small changes,
yes,
and then.
The FAS?
And then the FAS change to make sure it's $2 million, which was consistent with what the council adopted.
all right, so let's just be clear here. We've got allocation adjustments in the thousands. So are all these numbers, because you've got revenue allocation adjusted with thousands, you're meaning the top line is going from 3 million to 2 million, correct? And the other ones, because you're not talking about Broad Street going from 96 million to 7, do you see what I'm saying?
Yep. That would be my error.
Okay, but that's what we're
on
talking
there.
about,
So,
correct? We're
yes.
going from,
So the city light issues are not in thousands. Those
all
are
right,
the
so let's get
clear
rid of those
numbers.
zeros, and I'm,
And then just add zeros to the FAS numbers.
right, good.
I'm sorry about that.
But just to make sure that is correct, okay? And so you will make a change to this before it comes to the full committee,
I will.
correct? All right, so I'm amending this now. Do we have, we've got 2 amendments?
Let me just correct one thing, actually, Councilmember. This is an effect statement, so the ordinance itself, or the amendment itself that you would pass, doesn't include this table. It has the correct table. It's the big, long table that is getting changed. So I will change the effect statement if that is something that gets conveyed to full council, but I don't believe that goes forward to full council.
Well,
The amendment itself will still be valid today because the amendment does not adopt my staff table. It adopts CBO's
This.
staff table.
and so all the numbers are in here. If I pulled over, maybe you can, if I can just ask you to point out on this attachment A where everything is here in your amendment 1, so I'm clear that the numbers are correct.
I'm going to have Caleb
So
do
on
that.
the FAS, just give me a line number.
It should be the third project on the first page, customer requested tenant improvement program in the 2018 revised column.
Okay, just point out to me where we are.
I think hers are in this one, just this one. That's
I
wrong.
don't know what I have here is not the same as,
I'm, for what it's worth, Councilmember Bagshaw, I'm also struggling following
Thank
this
you very much.
conversation.
good. I mean, not good that you're struggling. I'm just glad that we're getting this straight, because
Yeah.
if we're correcting something that was an error in the first place, we don't want to go in and,
Correct it with an error.
you got it,
No, and
The attachment with another attachment
right?
the amendment to the attachment.
Okay, so we've got your 3,500 here, and where does the 2,000 number or the 2 million number show up?
so she's looking for the FAS number.
The two is right below it. It was 3.5 million, but we corrected it to the 2.
It's not showing that on my sheet. Mine's got 3.5 and 3.5.
Where it's crossed out.
The far right column?
Here. 35.
No, but I'm saying my numbers aren't the same. Mine say 3.5, not 2 million.
I don't know what you printed these ones.
I think this was a printing error on my part, for which I apologize.
This is what's in the system.
This is the right one.
Thank you for doing this.
And she doesn't have this.
Okay.
The 3.5 is triggers.
This is the right one.
And then finance administrative services,
Great.
Q4 7.
Right, the one that, whatever was in the packet is right.
Okay, well, it looks
2
like
million.
it's right in the system. Whatever you handed me was incorrect.
Correct.
So we've got one amendment.
That was hard to find.
Yeah, thank you. And we have a second amendment. You want to,
And the second amendment just follows up on that and basically corrects the CIP project page that corresponds to the FAS change. So it looks like this.
all right, is there anything in here that we need to know that does not appear on this front page?
No, it's basically aligning, it's making the same change, it's just that attachment B to this ordinance was all of the CIP project pages.
So I'll tell you what I'm going to want to do. We will go through these amendments, we will go through the underlying bill, but before Monday, I would like to have you come into my office
I will do
with a
that.
completely clean,
I will.
clarified piece. So can I do Amendment 1 and Amendment 2, and then the entire bill? Okay, so I'm going to, first of all, move adoption of Amendment 1, which corrects Attachment A.
Second.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, so we will now move forward to move adoption of Amendment 1. Say aye.
Aye.
Aye, none opposed. So Amendment 1 is passed. Amendment 2 corrects Attachment B, and that's to the 2018 Q4 Supplemental Budget Ordinance, so I will move adoption of Amendment 2.
Second.
Any further comments?
Nope.
Okay, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, none opposed. So now we will move for Council Bill 119479 as amended.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
None opposed. So we've got 1 and 2 as amended. We have the underlying bill passed as amended, and then you'll come to my office sometime before next Monday, and we'll have something clean and sharp.
Yep.
Very good. Thank you for that. Thank you, Budget Office, for coming down. CBO, we're always happy to see you.
Thank you.
Great. All right. The next item of business is, we still have numbers, but it's Pike Place Market, so please come on up, everybody.
Item number 4, Council Bill 1199476, an ordinance relating to Pike Place Market, authorizing a renewal of the agreement with Pike Place Market Preservation and Development Authority, commonly known as the Hildt-Licata Agreement, for a term of 10 years.
Very nice. Thank you very much. As you are getting yourself settled in, Lish, do you want to start?
Sure. Lish Schwitzen, Council Central staff.
And Dave?
David Dickinson, Pike Place Market, Daystall and Arts Program Manager.
Thank you.
I'm Haley Land. I'm a craftsperson at the market.
Thank you, Haley.
Mary Becquerel, Executive Director of the Pike Place Market.
Nice.
Kenny Pittman, Officer of Intergovernmental Relations.
And John Turnbull, Director of Assets at the
Thank you.
market.
Thank you all for being here. So I'm especially happy to have you here for a couple of reasons. One is that the Hildt-Licata Agreement is named after two of my very favorite people. Michael Hildt, who has passed now, his widow is a very good friend of mine, and I appreciate that Karen Gates Hildt has been long involved in this, and of course, Nick Licata has been on this council for close to 2 decades, and we really appreciate all the work that all of you have done. So, Lish, do you want to just jump in? I've got some comments here, but I think that we might as well just move in because we all love the market. Mary, congratulations. I know you've been there for, what, a year and a half now?
Over a year.
But it's running well. It's beautiful. Vendors, thank you so much for, everything that you do for our city, because it is the #1 tourist attraction in our state, but also for those of us who live just a few blocks away. You are our grocery store and everything else, so many thanks.
So the Hildt-Licata Agreement is an agreement that guides the Public Development Authority's management of the daystall areas and busking at the market. This legislation would renew the agreement for 10 more years and would incorporate the market front building into the agreement. And the PDA is going to talk about how they came up with the recommendation to include the market front building and the process they went through to come up with this updated agreement.
Great. So, are you up, Mary?
I am ready to go. Well, I think you gave a little bit of history, and I really appreciate that. It's been since 1983, and it originated as a way to ensure the consistency of the rules and regulations for our crafts, farmers and buskers, and the meet the producer tradition of the market. I have been told by actually Haley and a number of other craftspeople is they look at this as their Bill of Rights. So we were really excited to get into this past year and move forward with it. So this is our review process from 2018, and I won't go through every single thing that we had done, every date, but we had in the beginning from May 5th to the end of August, through the whole process, we had 3 community meetings, large community meetings. We had a couple of smaller meetings also, and we had 3 different deadlines for public comment for both our recommendations and from our community, so there was ample time to give us feedback on the recommendations and to have discussion and to come to agreement. So our original timeline was supposed to end on August 30th, and actually we organized this to give us the month of September to work through. This was due to your office in October, and we thought, there might be a hiccup. So what happened is we had a overzealous council member decide at the end of all of it that they wanted to go out and talk to people and see what get more ideas, and we were like, okay, we'll change the timeline till the end of September. There were a few anonymous comments that came in through the council member that were exactly what we were working through, but we hadn't presented yet, and so we got through that. There wasn't anything new. And on September 10th, we presented the red line version, which we promised to do to our community so they could see the red line version, what was changed and what was not, to our community. And we had a community meeting on that. And then we presented the final version to our council on September 27th, and it was voted unanimously.
Great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm not sure that I know of much that is unanimously recommended, because we've got a lot of people and a lot of ideas.
Yes, we do.
Thank you.
That's what actually makes the market great.
Yeah, and I love your smile.
So our progression of recommendations, the original in May, we had 9. After 4 of the public meetings, 4 presentations, that was adding the others in September, we got down to 1 recommendation, which we are here today to talk about. So it was mostly all about the market front, and as you probably know, our new market front that opened in June of 2017, the first step in the waterfront. And in our market front, we have 40 low-income apartments, 7 that are artist studios and apartments. We also have 300 parking spaces, and the main part of the market front has 4 places for retail, but the big pavilion is for, the south pavilion is for priority day stall, which is farms and crafts and buskers, and the north part is, usually we're using it with our crafts, but it is also there in case we want to do events or demonstrations or something like that.
By the way, it is spectacular.
It is beautiful.
It really is. And I've been there innumerable times for various events, most recently when the viaduct was closed. It could not have been more fun. I think 3/4 of the city was out there. And I really congratulate you both on the design, the operation, the activities, and it's going really well.
We've had
Be
some
proud.
Thank you. We've had some great programming. So just, we wanted to show our community, our council, and your council here that it was the one change that we made, or actually it was an addition, not a change. It was a constant theme from 2015 to 2017 when they were talking about the market front. So the main South Pavilion, primary use for day stall and craft priority, option for special events in the evening, such as fundraisers and private events. We did a few when it first opened, but what really we use in the South Pavilion with crafts after hours is pretty much for the foundation when they do their sunset supper or something that they want to set up there. But during the day, it's for day stall. The North Pavilion was themed for community activations, seasonal events, crafts and food demonstrations, local producers, and private event rentals. We have done mostly crafts and food demonstrations out there, involving the craft community, which has been, we'll show you some pictures in a minute, which has been very, very amazing and supportive to show their demonstrations and show off their skills. So here's some recent programs and events in the pavilion. The first big one that you see with the lady in the red hat, that was our holiday market that we had at Christmas. In September, and I'm not sure if it was October, but we had 3 called Painters, Potters, and Printers, where we had our painters there demonstrating painting. We had our potters there doing pottery, obviously, and our printers doing printing. All of these are around showing off and building community with our day stall, but showing off what they can do to our local community. And we have been if you see the next picture, that is our harvest/Halloween, where we're actually pressing cider there. So we do them through different themes. Our biggest one right now is Magic in the Market, and a lot of that started with our craft community. The comments and the public comment themes that we went through and we heard continuously when we were doing our working through the Hildt-Licata this year is the stability of the Hildt-Licata Agreement, which we all agree on that it needs to be there. Seniority, which it is all based on, which we heard very loud and clear, and it stays there. Appreciation for the programming featuring our arts and crafts community, and that because it was about the Market Front Pavilion, that any use of the Market Front Pavilion should be consistent, compatible, and non-competitive with the existing principles and operations of the Pike Place Market. And we also have concerns about capacity, so we keep our eye on that too.
Describe what you mean by that. The idea of capacity, the number of people who are in there at the same time, number of vendors?
It's number of people or number of events. We need to make sure that what the market is, we need to continue to do that. So we don't go off base in something about capacity and getting different type of groups there or whatever that might not, gel with what we're doing there. That make sense? And so this is the conclusion. And it was 1, we renew the Hildt-Licata for another 10 years, but insert a new sentence under the use of market space, section 3, that reads, the Market Front Pavilion shall be used for programs and events which further the purposes of the Pike Place Market PDA charter. The primary use of the South Pavilion will be as craft priority day tables. And that's where we are. And I would like to actually thank our community and our staff that worked really hard together to get to this point. And thank you for having us here.
Well, we've got Haley here. As a vendor, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience, your involvement?
Yeah.
And it's great to have you at the table.
Oh, thanks very much. I was actually here 10 years ago, and in a far different capacity in 1998, protesting it. But anyway.
Why do you like it now, and why did you not like it then?
Well, why I like it now, I'll focus on that first. The process has been very inclusive this time. There's been from the beginning of this particular process of the last year, The PDA has made it clear that they want our input. They are listening to the recommendations that we make, and they try to fold those in. And as the charts there demonstrated, there were initially 9 changes proposed. Eventually, there was 1. And that was based on the fact that there was feedback from within the community to say, well, we want stability in this way, or we see this as maybe being problematic. So I think for a lot of our community, the Hildt-Licata, as Mary said, represents a Bill of Rights. The market charter is our Constitution, and along with the Daystall rules, but this is our Bill of Rights. And so having this and feeling like it's stable and reliable, doesn't change every 10 years, is something that I think helps people not only think about how the market operates and how their business can be there and be consistent, but just how things move in the future, and giving more status to the agreement over time too. And this is, I think we're into 35 years now, and so that's a lot of longevity. Anyway, it was a good process this year, and we felt like we were listened to, and there was a good two-way street to all of that, and there were plenty of times to express ourselves in both public meetings, in person, in writing, and to meet with both the PDA and with our council. So, that's very thorough, and that's appreciated.
Good. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, sure.
Dave or John, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No.
Okay. Mary?
No, I'm just glad to be here.
Good. Well, congratulations. Working as you've done in an inclusive way, it shows once again, it may go slower on the front end, but it goes faster on the tail end when people like Haley will step forward and say, we were part of the process and we were heard. Well done. Kenny, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Well, only thing I would like to add, that it was a joy working with Mary on this, and she came in and grabbed it immediately, and I remember the phone call as, what is this? and so we worked through the process, and it was a joy working with her.
Thank you for that. Councilmember Gonzalez, any comments?
Nothing to add.
All right, very good. Well, then
Other than I love the market.
Good. Yeah. That's great. And tulips are out, and it's the best. So I'm going to move Council Bill 119476.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Thank you for that. The Hildt-Licata Agreement renewal for 2019 is passed out of committee.
Thank you.
It will go to our full committee on Monday, our full council, and I think you can anticipate that it will go through with flying colors. If you want to come, you're welcome. If you don't, you've done your deed. So thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
No, it's great to have you. Anything else for the good of the order? All right. Well, Allison, thank you very much for organizing us. Anything else, Councilmember Gonzalez?
Nothing.
All right. Thank you. This meeting's adjourned.